Okay guys, so the next thing we're gonna work on is violet, which is just another word for purple. And that is just going to be red and blue mixed together, basically equal parts. I'm gonna get a hunk of blue, get a hunk of red, a little bit more red, and it'll probably kind of almost look brown. And then when you go to paint it, it should look more violet. This is actually a really good violet. And then I'm also going to take and make my tint. I've still got some white on my other plate over here. It's like a color you would see at Easter. I'm going to rinse my brush out, and I'm going to go ahead and do that shade, which is simply adding black to my violet. I'm going to take some of my violet over to here, add just a little bit of black, because we all know a little bit of black goes a long way. And you guys should have a mat underneath your project so you're not getting paint all over your table. Your next color is going to be blue violet, so we're going to take this violet that we made and add blue to it. And again, you just want to make sure there's a very definite color difference. And we're going to go ahead and take some of that, and we're going to add white to it. And then we're going to take what's left and we're going to add black to it. So I've got my tint and my shade of my blue violet. And I think that's just what you guys should do. I think you should mix one color and make the tint and the shade of that one color before you move on. That way you don't lose the one color. I'm gonna go ahead and rinse my brush out. And I think I'll use my smaller brush for this next part, which is just blue. Remember, dry your brush off each time. This one didn't get quite dried off enough, and now it's kind of watery. And we are going to make a tint of that, which is just going to be a lighter color. Oops. I'm going to try to stay in those lines, my friends. And then I'm going to use my larger brush to make the shade. Again, being sure to dry my brush off. I'm going to take some blue. And I'm going to add some black. So this should create kind of a navy color. And it'll probably look like it's just straight black till you start painting it. If any of your colors look just plain black, you've probably added too much black to the color. All right. So my next color is blue-green, and then yellow-green, and I'm gonna actually go ahead and make my green first. And that is just quite a bit of yellow and some blue. I need to go ahead and add a little more blue here. And a little bit more. And I've got a nice shade of, or a nice color here, because it's not a shade, I didn't add black to it. So just got a nice color of green there. I'm gonna go ahead and paint my green. And then I'm going to go ahead and make my tint right there with my green. And I'm going to go ahead and make my shade with my green. I'm going to grab my green, quite a bit more of my green. And some black. And you can see how quickly that black overpowers the color. That's why you just don't need much at all. Oop. All right, then my blue green. Rinse the black out of my brush. Of course, for this, we're gonna make a green, but we're gonna add extra blue this time. So I'm going to take my blue and add it to my green that's here already. And I'm going to add quite a bit more. And some more still. If you start to paint a color and it just doesn't look quite right, you can always let it dry and try again. I may have actually gotten my green a little bit light, but we can always make the yellow-green lighter, so it should work out just fine. I'm going to take my blue-green off to the side here and add some white to it for my tint. Kind of looks like mint ice cream. And then I need my shade. So I'm going to rinse my brush out because I've already got white on my brush and I need to have black on it. Remember, really get that water out of your paintbrush. I'm gonna take my green over here, my blue-green rather, and I'm going to add black. This kind of looks like a mushed up frog or something. All right, and my last one is the yellow-green. So I'm gonna rinse my brush off again, being careful to get all the extra water out of it. And for yellow-green, I'm gonna take, I think, and just use some of this green and add a lot of yellow to it. All right, and then we're gonna do the yellow-green. And this should be dry by now. Oop. Try to keep in the lines here. And then I'm going to take my yellow-green over here And I'm going to add white to it. And then I'm also going to add black to it. And there you have your finished color wheel. You do want to try to stay away from leaving little white spots like that, and it is much easier to control that if you use a smaller brush. So I think what we'll do is just have a couple different sizes of brushes out, and that way you guys can get what you need. The outside should look kind of muddy or maybe not really what you want, but it's just kind of teaching you different ways to use the paint.